We are back on that other side of Tuesday and the election. Court Accountability Action. Lisa Graves and Alex Aronson join Michael Popok here at the intersection of law and politics. And coming up with our topics, we want to focus on things that aren't getting a lot of attention, but frankly have the ability to be a wrecking ball of our democracy in more ways than even all of these obscenely unqualified Trump cabinet picks would be. It's hard to believe. We're going to talk about a little known, a little reported on, but so devastatingly powerful federal office, the Office of Management and Budget, that once staffed with the person that Donald Trump, who was going to place in there, plucking him out of Project 2025 land and Heritage Foundation and placing it back in the OMB, has, frankly, not to oversell this, this person has more ability to impact negatively your day-to-day life than anyone will be talking about at the cabinet level. And that, in combination with this non-government agency outside blue ribbon panel thing that Elon Musk and Ramaswamy have been sent to, or have formed, called DOGE, the department, not a department, of government efficiency, and what the House Oversight Committee and this new subcommittee that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who will be the liaison between Musk, DOGE, the Trump White House on these very issues, all comes together, though, under this Office of Management and Budget. I can't think of two better people to talk about it with than Alex and Lisa. Alex, why don't you lead off and tell people, we're going to start with what it is and why we should be worried, and then we'll end it, as we always do, with what we can do about it.
Sure. Thanks, Popok. This is going to be something that I think we're going to be talking about a lot over the coming years. This is the plan, right? I think with Trump 2017, he comes into office. It's total chaos. They have no idea what they're doing. They've got horrible extremist policies that they're trying to implement. A lot of them get stopped in the course because of their incompetence. By the end of the Trump administration, with this guy, Russel Vought, running the Office of Management and Budget, they're a lot more sophisticated. They've got their plans much more kind of cleverly packaged. Vought comes from a deep background in government, in Congress and in the executive branch. He understands how the budget process works. He understands how the administrative state works. The Office of Management and Budget is not a sort of high-profile office, as you mentioned, but it's incredibly important, incredibly powerful. Within it sits OIRA, which handles all of the regulatory review, and together they implement the administration's executive policy across all of these platforms. And Vought is uniquely dangerous. He's a self-described Christian nationalist. He believes we are living in a post-constitutional reality. As soon as he left the first Trump administration, he already had the bylaws drafted for an organization called the Center for Renewing America, which he runs, employs bad actors, real cretins like Jeff Clark, who tried to run the insurrection. It's connected to the Conservative Partnership Institute, which effectively served as the off-campus clubhouse for the House Freedom Caucus.
And Pete Hegseth, who's up for the Director of Defense, Secretary of Defense.
Right. So, Vought got caught on the hidden camera. These British journalists sort of tricked him into thinking they were potential donors for his Project 2025 work. And this was after Trump had said, we have nothing to do with Project 2025. I have no idea who these people are. And Vought was, on this hidden camera, he was like, yeah, that's a PR ploy. We know this is a trick. Of course we're the people. Of course we're the agenda. And then, of course, now that Trump has won, and they're feeling really emboldened with a red trifecta, here's Russ Vought, ready to do this tremendous damage through the Office of Management and Budget. I want to make sure we get into the Musk Ramaswamy op-ed too, because they're the people that are going to be as volunteers, which questionable whether that is even legal under certain federal laws that require inherently governmental functions to be carried out by employees, are going to be supervising what they're describing as an effort to basically cut government in half, sweeping firings of federal employees, and the Supreme Court and its anti-regulatory majority and the decisions it has already handed down, like West Virginia versus EPA, which invented the major questions doctrine, and Loper-Bright, which basically gave the courts the sweeping ability to strike down federal regulations. It's all part of a play, right? The same funders, the same interests, and they're clearly well organized in their plans to implement this. So I think it's going to be really important for us to think about this holistically, understand who these people are and what they're doing over the coming years.
Yeah, let's bring in Lisa Graves. Lisa, give it to us from your perspective to remind people. Lisa served all three branches of government, has a very clear understanding of the role of the OMB, and including, I was just looking as we were recording to get ready for putting together our video package. You've got the way the Democrats are referring to it, and it's not wrong, is that Donald Trump stacks Project 2025 cabinet with chief architect of Project 2025, Russ Vought, in charge of OMB. So the Democrats, the traditional Democrats, are sounding the alarm and the hair on fire moment with Russ Vought being placed in there. I'll just leave one comment and turn it right over to you. I saw it in one of your own Project 2025 overviews for CAA, where Russ Vought basically said, to tie it back to law and politics, he said the Department of Justice is not an independent agency. And if anybody raises that issue in any meeting, I want them immediately removed and probably shot. That's their understanding. And for those that don't get it, for around the world, when Pam Bondi gets confirmed as Attorney General, and she will, as I said, only half jokingly, a chimpanzee in a diaper smoking a cigarette could get confirmed now after Gates, as long as he doesn't have a rape charge against him. So Bondi's getting confirmed. So she is going to be meeting and or speaking with Donald Trump on a weekly basis about Donald Trump's who's been naughty and who's been nice list in retaliation. For those that don't follow this closely, we've had all this time, especially since Nixon, an independent FBI, an independent Department of Justice. Yes, they're within the executive branch, but they weren't meeting regularly. Like, there wasn't like in the little tea room at the White House, meetings between Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, the ones that are imagined and lied about by the MAGA, but that wasn't going on. It will be going on when Pam Bondi gets confirmed. And you just hear it through a guy like Russ Vought, right?
That's right. I mean, when you think about the fact that it's been 50 years since Watergate, where President Nixon, tried to make the Attorney General fire the prosecutor, the special prosecutor, Archibald Cox, for investigating him for his actual crimes involving Watergate. You saw the AG, the Attorney General, and the Deputy Attorney General resign rather than execute that order. And so for 5 decades, we have had a tradition, although I think it was eroded quite a bit by Donald Trump in his first term, but we had a tradition that the Justice Department does not do the bidding of the president, does not investigate his enemies, does not use the extraordinary power of law enforcement to engage in partisanship. And in fact, under Merrick Garland, what we saw was the appointment of these special counsels to look into the Donald Trump's theft of the documents, the top secret and more than top secret materials he took to Mar-a-Lago and hid in his bathroom and tried to have his butler hide from the FBI. And Merrick Garland also appointed a special prosecutor to look into the few documents that Biden admitted that he inadvertently had taken. And so you had the Department of Justice operating in an independent fashion, but Russ Vought and these extremists that he is part of, they don't want an independent Justice Department. They want a Justice Department that will do the bidding of the president, no questions asked. And that's a key part of Russ Vaught's agenda. It's not just the Justice Department, it's the other agencies, like you mentioned, Michael, the FBI, which the director has a 10-year term by statute, but can be pressured or potentially removed by a president, fired as Trump did with Mr. Comey, with James Comey. But you also have this effort to go after independent agencies that Congress has established to have bipartisan representation, to steer key parts of our economy, to prevent excessive political interference or politicization of our policies. And Vought is aiming for those. But not just that. There are two other things I just want to make sure to flag. One is that one of Vaught's agenda items at OMB is to destroy the civil service in our federal government. And so under longstanding practices for the Justice Department, for other agencies, there are about 4,000 to 6,000 political appointments that a president can make. Those are not just the Senate confirmed appointments, but positions like Deputy Solicitor General, for example, the position that John Roberts held back in the first Bush administration. There are positions that are political that end with a presidential term. They're not career. They don't go through the same process of being hired for expertise as career officials do. But what Vought wants to do through this thing called Schedule F that Donald Trump started to implement at the very end of his administration is to reclassify tens of thousands of civil service jobs, including areas where there's a need for scientific expertise, independence in analyzing economic and science policies and more, and replace those civil servants by firing them and replacing them with loyalists, with people whose only qualification is loyalty to Trump and to the moving this agenda forward, not actual independent experience that would give them the chops, the bona fides to play this role in, climate change issues, in weather, in agriculture, in, every area of the government. And so they want to basically create a patronage system, remove the civil service protections for thousands of federal employees, fire them and replace them with incompetent or at least not, people who would win an actual employment, contest, who would not be hired, if they were up for actual qualifications, but who are hired for their loyalty. And that's not all. Vought, is someone who has aggressively attacked Social Security when he was last in charge of the Trump budget. He pushed forward proposals to significantly cut Medicare and Social Security spending. He pushed for slashing Medicaid by $1.5 trillion, Medicare by nearly $1 trillion, and Social Security by $25 billion over several years. He is someone who is very dangerous for the economic future of the American people. And I hope as this man, if he's confirmed, and I think he will be, as he starts moving these policies forward in tandem with the slash and burn agenda of these billionaires, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, I hope the American people respond strongly to this outrageous effort to take away key programs that are part of our security, our Social Security, our safety net for people on fixed incomes, but in general, all Americans who pay into Social Security, who have the opportunity to have access to Medicare as they age, people need to come together to respond to these outrageous attacks on these vital programs.
Yeah, when MAGA and Trump and Musk talk about trillions of dollars being removed from the budget, okay, all you should do is convert that. It should be like Google Translate. Just translate that into your entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and other things that go into our social safety net, because that is what their big fat eyes are looking at in terms of cutting. So yes, when people who follow Legal AF and the Midas Touch Network write in their chats or directly to me, I'm on a fixed income. I'm barely making it now. I mean, are they going to is there going to be enough political will to do this? Now, in order to do it, it's not just, we'll have to see. We have to try to tie it up in the House and then tie up MAGA in the House to make sure these kind of bills don't pass. How much authority does the OMB have and the cabinet level people have, who are being all Trumpers, being put there to either put their own cabinet, their own departments out of business, or to hollow out the budgets and everything? How much role or power do they have, or the president have, with a stroke of a pen to do these things? And how much still has to go through a House for appropriations and different things? Talk a little bit about that. How do we use the House to our advantage, the dysfunctional MAGA-led House to our advantage, to rein in a Russel Vought?
Michael, I think this is the key question, and it's why the court is so important. And it's featured right in this op-ed that Ramaswamy and Musk put out, because their clear calculation is that they will have the court on their side. And their view of the executive power is so expansive that they are effectively trying to write Congress out of the game. And that is the coming to fruition of a decades-long project by billionaires to chip away at Congress's power through assaults on the spending power, the Commerce Clause, the necessary and proper clause, all of the basic building blocks of congressional power to do their jobs, to pass regulations, to pass laws that give power to administrative agencies to pass regulations to protect the American people. They're trying to take all of that out at the knees, and they lay out the plan right there in this op-ed, and you can see it all over the way Russ Vought talks about this. They are trying to act as though the executive branch is an absolute unilateral actor in our constitutional design, with the Supreme Court as a rubber stamp. And so, one of the things they mention is their belief that the Impoundment Control Act is unconstitutional. And Donald Trump has talked about this. This is the idea that the president is not allowed to unilaterally decide not to spend the money that Congress authorizes him or her to spend. And they're going to go after that in a full frontal way. And I think, based on some of the decisions of the court, particularly the immunity decision, some of the other flirtations with ideas like the non-delegation doctrine, the idea that Congress can't delegate administrative authority to the regulators, that they could have an audience in this court, and they're going to push the envelope here. So, again, I think this provides a hugely important opportunity for the American people to communicate and make demands of their most direct representatives in our constitutional framework. That is the Congress. And, Lisa mentioned that she thought Russ Vought would be confirmed. I think that's decently likely, but I think this needs to be a major fight. This needs to be one of the biggest fights we have. This is a guy who explicitly endorses insurrection. He's an election denialist. He has said he does not believe the 2020 election was won by Joe Biden. And he is planning for a post-constitutional future where we have a presidential monarchy. And, we need to reinvigorate the idea of institutional prerogatives and make clear to the American people that if Senate Republicans confirm this guy, they are giving away their own power. They're giving away the people's power to a dictatorial president with big assist from the MAGA Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. And I think that, I didn't want to concede the fight on Vought. I just think, they are going to try to push him hard through. And it is an enormous threat to the power of Congress, which, in the system of checks and balances, the Congress has the power of the purse. They get to decide where money is spent, and the president is supposed to execute those laws. But what we've seen from Trump's own voice, from the voice of his proxies like Russel Vought, is that they think that they are not bound by those congressional specifications of which agencies or programs are funded and which are not. And they want to redirect that money to serve Trump's political agenda, his politicization of law enforcement, of the military, and more, and to try to gut programs that Congress has funded. And so we are in for an enormous battle to defend those programs that help people in their daily lives, and to try to prevent this extremism, this so-called post-constitutional or radical constitutionalism, as Russel Vought has also called it, from taking hold in America. But unfortunately, we are facing a Supreme Court that has tried to aggrandize power to itself, taking power away from Congress over campaign finance laws and other regulations, as well as to aggrandize the power of the president, as we saw with that immunity decision. And so Congress is also in a fight for its life, in essence, in our system, and need to stand up to this president. And I think that with the extreme policies that Russel Vought is trying to impose, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to be ringing those phone lines at Congress, at the district offices, and saying, keep your hands off my Medicare, keep your hands off my Social Security, keep your hands off of Head Start. We demand that you not give in to this extreme agenda, especially because Trump lied to the American people, lied to CNN and the other outlets in claiming that he had nothing to do with Project 2025, that he wasn't going to implement it when obviously he was. Obviously, that was a lie. And he was trying to run from it because these proposals are so extreme and so damaging to the interests of ordinary American families. So we have, I think we have a real uprising to help engage in a legitimate civil society pushback, fight back, objection to this sort of extremism that Russ Vought, or Vought, I don't know how to pronounce his name, represents.
This is what I'm banking on. that Donald Trump, drunk with power, along with MAGA, are overplaying their hand. They have misinterpreted the results of the election. They think it means that Project 2025, everybody was fine with having all of its principles implemented as policy and law in America. When most people don't even know what Project 2025 is, even though we talk about it a lot. And they're going to be like, wait, what is he doing? And then we need to bring out the wait, what is he doing part here? And so people get riled up and try to kill Russ Vaught's nomination just as hard as Matt Gaetz, because it is that important. And for those that to prove your point, Lisa, here at the end, for those that think that that in campaigning Donald Trump was distancing himself from Project 2025, let's just do the math. Whether it's Project 2025 or the overlapping personnel that's in the America First Policy Institute or the Heritage Foundation, let's just see where everybody's coming from. Let's see. The CIA director nominee comes from there. The Commerce Secretary nominee comes from there. The Department of Justice Attorney General nominee comes from there. The chief architect of 2025 is now OMB or is being put up for OMB. Do you see where this is going, folks? That shadow exile government that we said existed just in case Donald Trump got back into power, where they all kind of cooled their heels in these quote unquote think tanks controlled by Leonard Leo or Ginny Thomas or the Koch brothers or, fill in the blank,
or
Peter
funded
Thiel.
by them or tied in with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're all this overlapping, interlocking group. I went over and looked at Ballard Partners because that's where Susie Wiles worked with Pam Bondi. Then I went over to American First, whatever it is, the Stephen Miller
American
thing.
First Legal.
If they want to start putting us in the cabinet, I don't know. We could probably cause some trouble. If they want to start putting us in the cabinet, I think we could probably cause some trouble.
The Legal AF cabinet would be fantastic. But then I looked at like every other person from their list is in the cabinet or is being nominated. So yes, of course, we said that. I'll say it this way. Donald Trump was a meat puppet. He was just put there. He ran because he wanted to avoid his prosecutions. And everybody in MAGA and Heritage Foundation and all those people wanted him to win so he would hold the door open to let tens of thousands of people into government that have been chomping at the bit. And they all this is their religion. Their religion is this suffusion of Christian nationalism and this, like you said, post-constitutional world. I did a hot take on this. Pete Hegseth wrote in his book about the Crusades, America Crusade, that he envisions. This is not a historical novel, by the way. This is his thinking and teachings. That there will be a day when the U.S. military will have to choose in a civil war on American soil again and go against and try to crush, intimidate, and harass other Americans that happen to be Democrats using the U.S. military. This is the guy that they're nominating to be the head of the Department of Defense, who thinks there needs to be an apocalypse, right? There needs to be in order for his Christian nationalist ideas to come to fruition. I thought the reason you put a Department of Defense guy in there was to avoid World War III, not to cause one, in order to put heaven back on earth. It's just
I mean, it's so extreme and it's so outrageous and it's so unsuitable for a democracy like America's to have someone like that potentially in that position of power when they have such distorted views and actually such disregard for human rights law and for the civil rights of the American people. So, yeah, I mean, Michael, we join you and our listeners in not giving in, not giving up, and the imperative of speaking out against this and trying to stop it.
Let me make it simple. I'll summarize it this way. I'll give it over to Alex for the last word. We got to take down Vought and not let him get anywhere near the Office of Management and Budget. We got to take down Peter Hegseth. We got to take down RFK Jr. We got to take down Dr. Oz. We got to take down Tulsi Gabbard. The rest of them are going to get in, but that we got to draw the line. We got to circle the wagons, and we got to do everything at our disposal to draw attention to it and make it a big deal and make political and have political pain be visited on those in the Senate that allow these people to get in to our democracy and have hands at the levers of power.
I think that's the key thing, Popok, the political pain, right? Some of those folks will probably get through, and the people that confirm them need to be held accountable throughout the course of the devastating agenda they pursue. And I think structurally, zooming out just a little bit to think about what we're talking about here, the outsourcing to what you described as a shadow executive branch, a shadow government to conduct this stuff. It's rich because these are the people that complain about the deep state, the unelected bureaucrats, that they are now taking these positions of power to destroy democracy, to destroy our freedoms with this executive power that they are trying to expand far beyond any historical precedent. It's not unlike the way they have outsourced their most toxic, dirty work to the Supreme Court and these justices that they put on the bench over the course of decades. And the task for us in this, critical period for the future of our democracy at this dark moment is to not let them get away with that outsourcing. You mentioned the House and the House subcommittee that's going to nominally have some oversight function over this Department of Government Efficiency. We need to make sure the Democrats on there are, bringing a hard fight every single time there, and that the House elections coming up in 2026 are a referendum on this extreme executive branch agenda that the Project 2025 coalition taking power is going to be leveling, and hoping that the American people don't notice or aren't able to connect the dots to assign blame where it should lie.
Come right back here to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, where you will hear really important voices in this space. Lisa Graves, Alex Aronson, Court Accountability Action. We have our own playlist here. We're done with the election. We're moving forward. You're going to see them regularly here, catching up with some of their content. Really important things that, and I'll just say this out loud. And I can tell from watching all the videos, of course, as the sort of the curator for this channel, that the ones that are most interesting and the ones that get the most attention on the channel are the ones about things that haven't been gone over by the mainstream media. I mean, how many videos do you need about Pam Bondi? Now, it's different than the ones about Matt Gaetz, because we were trying to bring down the gate on Gaetz, and that worked. But other ones like a video on OMB that people are not thinking about is the one, and it's very heartwarming and encouraging to see it, is the one that our audience is going to latch onto and run with more than the 15th video about Pam Bondi being nominated. And is she a Qatar, Saudi Arabian, whatever, it's interesting. She's going to get nominated. I want to move on from Pam Bondi at this moment because she's going to get confirmed. And so I want to move on to the ones that matter. We got scarce resources in life. And I want to put it there. I really thank you for shining a light on that particular office and that particular person in Project 2025. Can't do it without you. So until our next Hot Take, Court Accountability Action, and Legal AF, we're signing off. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.